Hey guys, this is Orlando with Filmatic, and today we are talking about demo reel. Yes, your demo reel, your show reel, that thing that hopefully is landing you a bunch of clients. First off, I want to say that everyone is super critical of their own work.
Oh no! We suck again!
I am one of them. I have dropped reels after reels throughout my career, and every single time after a year or so, I just look at it and I cringe because I'm like, man, I could have done that so much better. But ultimately, you have to really focus on what is at hand. If no one sees your work, if no one sees your .com, if no one understands what you do, how do you expect them to call you? If you haven't started on your reel, let this be the video to help you get started today. The first step, figure out what your market is, especially in the area that you are in. So for me, I'm in the Houston area, Houston, Texas. A lot of people consider this to be, well, it is known as the fourth largest, possibly close to becoming the third largest city in the United States. But we are not a media hub by any means. Atlanta, Miami, a bunch of other places, Nashville, they're just popping off, making features, doing commercial work. I mean, everything but Houston for some reason. Someone as myself that's growing up in Houston, that was born and raised and wants to focus on bringing work here, or really just because I love how cheap it is to live here, I just windowed Houston as my market. So what does that mean and how does that work? So my market, I pretty much try to put myself in a position where I am not as expensive as the people you're going to bring in from LA or from New York that's probably repped by some agency. I'm like right below, maybe $500 below, maybe $250 below. And what that did was when agencies knew that they had to fly in a bunch of people, they didn't have to fly in a DP that's maybe you're paying about $2,500. Plus you have to do room and board, then you have to bring their gear, maybe they're a solo camera operator, et cetera, et cetera. So I knew my market that I wanted to be someone that they would Google search, look up Houston cinematographer. And then when that happened, I wanted my work to closely align to what they're used to bringing, you know, someone from New York or from LA, or, you know, those kinds of things. And I think that was super important for me to do that. So the first thing you have to do is define your market. So for me, it was Houston. I boxed myself in that. I said that I want people that are coming in from Houston. Now, 15 years later, I've been working you know, in filmmaking for quite a bit of time. I've been working as a cinematographer about 10 years straight on. And I found that almost no one in Houston hires me. Why? Because I kind of built my market that way where I am more getting leads from people coming in from out of town. My next job that I have is in LA. The job after that is also in LA. I just came from Baltimore. I did a project earlier this year in Atlanta. I'm not getting calls from people here in Houston. So if projects aren't coming in to Houston either, well, I'm not getting those calls. But fortunately, when they do come into Houston, they're usually great budgets, and it allows me to live pretty well here, just, you know, because it's very cost effective in Houston. And I also don't live in a mega mansion, right? I'm shooting in my garage studio, right? So yeah, it's, you know, super excited about that. So figure out your market, and I think that's super important. Who are you trying to pitch this to? The second thing that you really need to focus on is your music. Now, I know sometimes you take a long time to figure out music. I do that too. Sometimes I literally have like the same cut, drop it on another timeline. I already like it, but just to be safe, right? I'll try another track, drop it in, and then I redo the timing and do all that kind of stuff. Sometimes there's a song that is just gonna stick with you, and you can just use it for a while. That's something I'm currently doing. I kind of didn't feel like going through that whole rabbit hole, finding new music and changing it. So I just kind of stuck with it. But the one thing that you do have to understand is when you're using the music is that a lot of people that I have talked to after they've hired me, I always ask these questions. What did you like about my reel? Did you watch my reel? When I was starting off, people would tell me that they liked a song because it conveyed a certain emotion. But I've also been told by several people that they just mute it. They just mute the song and they just watch they just watch the visuals to see if they're cohesive, if they look good. Are we seeing everything that we need for what that their project is entailing? So if you're trying to figure out music, don't get too like bogged down with that, right? Find some cool website like Music Bed, Audio, even Artlist, IO, any of those places. Find something cool, drop it in, and try to just do a rough cut to it, and just put it out there because people need to know you. The third thing that you need to focus on is the length of the reel. Don't be afraid to make a short reel, especially if you're starting out. Your reel can be 30 seconds long. It could be 60 seconds long. It could be 90. I found a good medium of about 1.5 to 2 minutes. I've even been known to cut down songs so they hit certain parts that I want, just for dramatic effect. And it stays right around 2 minutes. The fourth thing you need to think about is curating your work. So now that you know your market, now that you know the song, and maybe even your song is going to be curated towards your audience, and it doesn't matter how long it is, maybe now you also need to curate your images. You need to focus on curating it towards, do I want to do narrative? Do I want to do fashion film? Do I want to do documentary? Where exactly do you want to head in your career? So, for example, if you find yourself doing a lot more corporate work, then maybe it's going to be hard to just have a reel with talking heads, because what's going to happen is people are going to hire you just for the talking heads. And I remember this as I was building up a reel. I knew that I never wanted to show talking heads. I never wanted to do that because I didn't want to be put into a box where I am only doing these talking head interviews with corporate, blah, blah, blah. That stuff to me is, especially the corporate side, is kind of boring. I started getting into what was more known as corporate film. So I started getting hired by offshore tankers and by different companies like that weren't looking for the talking head stuff, but they're looking for more visual storytelling. So they would hire me to go on the ships and film these cool stories, action, and different dramatic points of stories that they had there, and then they can use that, and then they can film some of the other things. And I really liked that part where I was, even in the corporate world, I was being known as the film guy, right? Shooting in 24 frames and stuff like that. So curate your content based on where you're trying to go. Some of y'all might just want to do weddings, and cool, we'll make a reel with all your weddings. Back in the day when I had a wedding film company, literally that's what we did. We took all our weddings, which I think at the time we had like 20 or 30 that we had filmed, and we took some of the best highlights from each of them, and we dropped this reel, like a wedding reel, right? I don't even know if people do that anymore, but it worked very well to our favor. Whenever we would do expos or different events, we could show these reels, and people could just see like all, that we don't just excel in one video, but we've done a ton of them. And I think that's super important as well. So make sure that you're showing the style, make sure that you're showing something that you yourself want to do more of. And I know that may be hard to curate because you don't have enough of what you really want to film. So what I would say to do is, that's when you jump into spec work. And if you haven't checked out my last video about spec work, check it out. It just kind of defines and gives you a little bit of insight of how you need to think when you're doing the spec work. Create a cool project, or even if you're getting hired as a cinematographer or getting hired, as a cam op, you can always ask like, hey man, I got this one shot in mind. Do you mind if I do it? Because I want to put it in my reel. And sometimes people are like, man, if it's a cool shot, yeah, let's do it. Especially when you're starting off and people really, really are inclined to get cool shots or get something that's in their brain out. And do your spec jobs, do spec work, go hang out with friends, try to get that one cool image that's in your brain, and then boom, throw that in your reel. And when people see it, it might just give you that edge because it's your style and it's what you're going for. Figure out your market. Think about where you're at, or where you're trying to be. I mean, you could be literally in the LA market, but you can be living in the Midwest. I know a ton of people that do that right now. Second, don't worry about the music too much, but if you find something cool, use it. But remember, that could be zeroed out later, and people might, not even listen to it. They might just look at your visuals. Three, don't worry how long your video is. Just get something out there because it's absolutely necessary for you to even start getting jobs. Don't forget to curate your work to make sure you're actually engaging the content that you want to receive, right? If you're planting the seeds, that's what's going to grow, right? And number five, don't forget that if you don't have that work yet, go get that one shot that will make your demo reel shine. With that said, I'm going to give you a couple examples of what I've done because without the examples, like what is the insight, right? So one of my first reels is from 2012. This reel is super. This reel is it's funny because this reel is actually not even a cinematography reel. It was a production reel that I put together with my partner at the time. We had just bought a Red 1MX, and he was out filming, I was out filming, and then we just kind of mashed something together to try to get work, and it worked a little bit. It helped, but a lot of this was shot on the Red 1. The coloring isn't that great, but it was everything from music videos, mainly music videos, color profiles, like I think it was like a hair salon, a bunch of stuff like that. It wasn't to me the best, but hey, from 2012, it worked out pretty well. And then from there, so let's see what other reels from there. Then after that, in 2014, I did another reel. And for this one, actually, I have a couple shots that there's one that this is back when there were no Mavic drones. There were no, pick up a drone and go to Best Buy, buy your drone and get some cool 4K shot. Like that stuff didn't even exist. Okay. So 2014 gimbals didn't exist. They did, but they were just coming to market. They were 15 grand. I spent a little bit of money to get that done. I worked with some good friends of mine called DroneWorks, and we did this like really baller shot of just like horses riding, running through a landscape and stuff. It just worked out, a beautiful image. And this was in 2014. We did a lot more music videos, did some stuff for the Texas Renaissance Festival, which was pretty fun. And I did some spec work as well. We just went to the backyard of old homie Action Jackson, rest in peace, that let us be. He did some pyro, and we got to film like a action sequence there, which worked out pretty well. We got to film the short journey. We got to film a pitch trailer for our film Journey, which was also in that trailer. And then that year I went hard, bro. I filmed as many music videos based off of that 2012 to be able to get that demo reel in 2014. 2014 helped us get quite a bit of contacts. It also helped us get our first feature film. In 2012, that reel got 600 views back then, right? In 2014, that reel got 816 views. My 2016 reel, even though at that time I moved that reel over to YouTube in 2016, which there's a lot of stuff that I filmed in San Francisco. It kind of showed me going out of the city, like not just doing narrative, but also doing kind of extended filming in different places. Because I went to San Francisco, Seattle. I started filming all kinds of places. And it shows, just a bunch of other projects that we have. It also shows a feature that we were able to film that year, our own feature. And that one had about 402 views. Not that much, and then in 2015, I think this one was a good one too. That one had 683 views. And that one also had a bunch of music videos, short films. Me and my brother went ham that year too. We shot a bunch of our own short films. We did a thing called Fat Kids on the Block, where we got to we community supported a bunch of short films, and community came out. They chose a director. I would come in to consult. I would DP some of them, and yeah, it just helped me stack a lot of my work. And that was a pretty fun year. Yeah, we did a bunch of just short films. Just were as creative as possible. Once again, got to work with DroneWorks even more. They helped us out getting some really dope drone stuff, and it always helped out. Now, and then 7 years ago, this was before my last one. All these so far have been only a minute and a half. I think this one was one of my better ones. It has 2,000 views on Vimeo, but it has a ton more views on Instagram and everywhere else. And that one is a minute and a half. And that one has like a compilation of stuff that I did all over, from Netflix projects, all kinds of branded pieces. And that one kind of just, I think, pushed the envelope a little bit. Minute and a half, very short, very sweet, just got to the point. And it was a little more dramatic, a little more contrasty. But man, it just has a lot of different work, so it worked well. And my latest one is actually from, it says 4 years ago. I released in 2020. That one has 527 views, which is pretty good, even though it has more views on a bunch of other platforms. Vimeo, I think, is where people are a little more serious, or I know people are going to my website and checking out some of that work. That demo reel is right at 2 minutes. And the version that you currently see online now is one that has I changed out some of the images just because I just didn't like them anymore. Or I really thought about it. I'm like, I don't even want to shoot that kind of content no more. It's kind of annoying, or I want to be a little more specific about like what I'm filming now. So now that even though I've been in the game for 12 plus years, I'm just like, how can I narrow it down even further? And that ultimately means, like, when you're at this point, is that you're going to get less jobs, but now you're going to get paid a little bit more, like a lot more. People are paying you for your specialization, like for what you do. So I'll put the link of my demo reel in the description. You can go check that out if you'd like. Go check out my website too. If you have any questions about website or Instagram or any of that stuff, I just kind of want to be a source to help you guys navigate where you're trying to go. I'm super grateful for everyone who's been hanging out with us, checking out some of the channel, asking questions, and collaborating, and also giving insight, man. There's some really cool insight in the comments, and I'd love to hear more like about you, your journey, what you're doing. You can find me on Instagram at This Is Filmatic. And as always, I really thank y'all for coming through. We got to 2,300 subscribers. Let's get to 2,500. 2,500 would be awesome. Also, I finally hit 2,000 watch hours. And I don't know if you guys know, but like, dude, I had, 200 watch hours at the beginning of this year. So to already hit half of that is awesome. And I hope that I can get to the full 4,000 so we can monetize this channel and I can start bringing more people, and also we can keep doing more comparisons, and I can just do more cool stuff for y'all. All right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. This is Orlando with Filmatic. I'll talk to you later. Peace.
Yeah.